Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy. Today we're going to be talking about UFC Vegas 53, Rob Font versus Marlon Chito Vera, and it's going down this Saturday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Two top bantamweight contenders trying to stake a claim for a potential title shot. I mean, you got Rob Font, who arguably has some of the best boxing in the bantamweight division, if not the best. And then Marlon Chito Vera, just a Latino gangster, man. This is a guy who is a bona fide finisher. I mean, he has the most finishes in UFC bantamweight history. And this really should be an epic 5-round main event. And I'm so glad it's 5 rounds, because I can't tell you how long I've been waiting for Marlon Chito Vera to have these 5-round fights, because if you go back and you watch some of these fights and you just start them on round 3, dude looks world class, man. I mean, you start that Brad Pickett fight on round 3, Chito looks world class. You start that John Lineker fight on round 3, Chito looks world class. You start that Song Yadong fight on round 3, Chito looks world class. So I can go on. You know, obviously there's some exceptions, like the Aldo fight where he got his back taken, but I feel like this is one of those dudes I've been waiting a long time to see him in 5-round fights, similar to actually Bilal. Even though they fight nothing alike, Bilal was a guy that I've been wanting to see in 5-round fights because he breaks dudes. Chito's a guy I've been wanting to see in 5-round fights because he breaks dudes. But you can't take anything away from a guy like Rob Font, man. I mean, if these two were to just put on the headgear and the boxing gloves, no kicks allowed, no takedowns, no nothing, I mean, Rob Font's winning that all day, right? But this is an MMA fight. There is no headgear. There's 4-ounce gloves. You got 2 extra rounds to work with. Now, Rob Font's coming off actually a couple main event appearances. So technically speaking, he's got the 5-round experience here. But I mean, if you heard Chito on Joe Rogan, he talked about how this dude's out here running 13 miles. I mean, you know what I mean? Running 2 miles is enough for me. Running fucking 13 miles. And like, that just speaks volumes to what this dude is capable of in deep waters. And I know he's going to shine in that kind of fight. But the thing is, Rob Font, man, I mean, when you talk about one of the slickest jabs in the entire division, when you talk about the timing of his punches, and let's not sleep on the other aspects of his game either. He's been adding takedowns. I know he's been working his jiu-jitsu. Plus, I love Rob Font's coach, Tyson Chartier. I mean, those dudes go into detail. Tyson Chartier and even his main training partner, Calvin Kattar, who's, you know, a top 5 featherweight. Like, these guys put in their homework, man. You should see some of the game plans and scouting reports that Tyson Chartier puts into his fighters' opponents, man. Like, literal, like, 5-page documents, like, literally watches their entire careers and writes down every single tendency, and they know exactly what they need to work on. So both guys are going to be well prepared. And then on the Chito side of things, the criticism was always that the boxing may not be up to par, and especially not when you're fighting a guy like Rob Font, right? But he, you know, so initially he was training at this gym called 50-50 in Ecuador, and he was like the only pro fighter there. It was like him and a bunch of cab drivers, right? So he moves to the United States. He starts training at Team Oyama. And then he decided to take things to another level, and now he's got Jason Parillo as his boxing coach. And you all know Jason Parillo, responsible for UFC champions such as Michael Bisping, responsible for UFC champions, double champions such as BJ Penn, responsible for UFC and Bellator champions such as Kris Cyborg. So if there's a weakness in your boxing game, I couldn't think of a better guy to spend a couple years with than Jason Parillo. So you're going to see an improvement there, but still, like, if this fight comes down to, let's see who's got the nicer jab. Let's go jab for jab with Rob Font. That's a terrible idea here. What I think is, well, firstly, I'm going to be watching the fight from the jump. But honestly, like, as a betting man, as someone who took the plus 130 on Chito here, I can just start this fight at round 3, and that's when the fight really starts for me, in round 3, just like every Chito fight for the most part. Like I said, there's some exceptions here and there. But for the most part, Chito fights don't start until round 3. Like I told you, these examples that I mentioned already. How world class did he look in round 3 versus Brad Pickett? And don't give me no shit about Brad Pickett this and that. Brad Pickett beat Demetrius Johnson, so I don't want to hear nothing about that. How world class did he look in round 3 against Song Yadong? How world class did he look in round 3 against John Lineker in Brazil? So I want to see what he looks like in round 3 here against Rob Font. But it's going to be a tough fight because the thing about Chito that we know is that, I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. The dude eats a lot of shots, but that's the thing that makes him awesome is the kind of chin this guy has, the kind of durability, the kind of willingness he has to bite down on that mouthpiece and throw himself right into the fire and get into things, man. So that's what he's got to do here. Like, if he tries to have a pretty fight with Rob Font, he's going to get picked apart and he's going to lose this fight. He needs to make it dirty. He needs to do what Pedro Munoz did. I mean, if you watch that Pedro Munoz fight, I mean, it's pretty fucking evident that Rob Font has cleaner hands than Pedro Munoz. Like, that's not even a question here. But at some point, Pedro got sick of getting tagged over and over, and he said, fuck it. And when it was his turn to land his shots, Rob Font didn't like it. And even going back to that John Lineker fight, John Lineker had Rob Font pulling guard. Now, this was a long time ago. Rob Font, since that point, he's evolved into a top 5 guy, so you can't take anything away from him. But the foundation kind of remains the same, whereas, like, Chito at some point needs to say fuck it, and he needs to just go for it, make it a dirty, ugly fight if he's still in there, right? Because I keep saying that it's going to be a sad day when Chito finally gets knocked out. And it's inevitable, right? Because the dude does eat a lot of shots. So at some point it's going to happen. Is it going to be this Saturday night? We're going to tune in to find out. But if that does not happen, I do see the case for people saying, look, Rob Font's is going to pick him apart for 5 rounds. And I see why on paper you'd think that. And I see why that would also be the game plan for Rob Font. I mean, Chito's ultra durable, but he is there to be hit. It's just, you know, this Latino gangster has a way of creating chaos in there. And chaos has been created on Rob Font before. And like I said, the Pedro Munoz fight, I think, is the blueprint here, man. You're going to eat a bunch of shots early, but when it's your turn to land your shots, you got to make them count. You got to make Rob Font feel it. You got to make Rob Font feel that pressure. You got to make him start to question things, start to question, why is this guy still here? Why haven't I gotten him out of there? Why have I hit him with all my cleanest shots and he's still pressing forward, right? And from there, that's when I want to start to see the kicks from Chito Vera start to come. That's when I want to see him get Rob Font in the clinch, start landing those brutal knees, those. My bad, y'all. I accidentally kicked myself out of my own stream. But what I was saying was, when Chito finally says, fuck it, that's when I want to see those big knees in the clinch. That's when I want to see those elbows. That's when I want to see that signature trip takedown. That's what I want this fight to be, a dirty, ugly, gritty fight, because that's how Chito's going to win. Like I said, if this is a pretty fight about who's got the better jab, who's got the cleaner hands, who's the better boxer here, I mean, give that to Rob Font. But you have to say fuck it at some point, right? Which Chito is known for doing. And like I said, man, I mean, we've seen him in there with really clean strikers. Song Yadong, he's got some of the best hands in the division too. Chito was competing. It's just that in the early going, Chito's going to be biting on feints really hard. He's going to be getting clipped with some big shots. That's like the concern here. Like, are those shots going to be so compromising that, you know, that it really affects the, you know, that it kind of like has an impact on the remainder of the fight. What I'm trying to say is, like, does he get so hurt that he can't recover? And from there, Rob Font just picks him apart, right? That's the concern. But based on what I've seen, and back to this dude running 13 miles a day talk, you know, the reason I brought that up is not just to be like, oh, he can run a fucking marathon or whatever. It's more to say that that's why he can recover so well. That's why his conditioning is so good. That's why I've wanted to see this guy in 5-round fights for a really long ass time. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's a dog or pass situation in my eyes. Some people disagree. I understand why. Because in that first round, we know who the cleaner guy is going to be. It's going to be Rob Font. It's just that in 25 minutes, you got this guy who, Chito, look, he's got these intangibles that you don't really see on tape in the first 5 to 7 minutes. You see it as the fight progresses. And those are the kind of things that I need to see here for him to win this fight. So I took 2 units on him at plus 130. I'm fully aware of the threat that Rob Font brings to the table. I'm fully aware of how world-class Rob Font is. And I know that certain things need to be executed for us to win this fight. It's not going to just be, you know, it's not going to be some cakewalk like some of these other guys, you know? So let me see some of these comments y'all are saying. MMA Jedi said, just comparing the performances against Aldo, Chito had a much better showing. Yeah, I mean, it's just a different matchup, man. I mean, you're right, because he did get he did lose at 29-28, whereas on my scorecard, I thought Font lost 50-44. But, they ain't fighting Jose Aldo. But, yeah, man, how good does Jose Aldo look since he dropped to 35s, man? It's pretty crazy how, like, this dude was a world champion when I was in high school, and now that I'm like a 32-year-old grown man, he's like on the path to getting another title shot in a different weight class, and he's looking fucking great. So it's pretty badass to see. Let me see what else y'all are saying. Leave me some comments. Everybody do me a huge favor and smash that like button for me. I truly appreciate it. All right, so we got my boy Ben Davis in the house. What's up, Ben Davis? Got UFC Bro Picks. What's up, Bro Picks? Got Evan. What up, Evan? 5-round Chito. Yeah, that's what I hope happens, man. I hope that, like I said, back to the Bilal talk. Him and Bilal fight nothing alike, but I want certain guys I want to see in 5-round fights. Bilal was one of those guys, and props to him for cashing that plus 160. How are y'all calling him boring, man? Like, when I was growing up, John Fitch was considered boring. Elias Theodoro is considered boring. Like, if you want to see a boring fighter, if you have trouble sleeping, go watch a Ben Askren fight. I'm not talking about his UFC fights because he got his ass kicked, so therefore they were entertaining. But I'm saying watch his Bellator fights if you want to go to sleep. Watch John Fitch. Watch his come up if you want to go to sleep. I thought that Bilal and Luque fight was like a gritty tactical war, man. So I disagree with y'all calling that boring. And yeah, you could say, oh, you had plus 160 on Bilal, so of course it wasn't boring for you. And it's like, yeah, like I did. However, like I also had money on Woodley when he fought Maya and Wonderboy, and I was falling asleep during those fights. So I can separate the two, right? But back to this. Y'all know what this fight comes down to, man. This fight comes down to Patty said you also think Magomed Ankalaev is boring. What, you think he's exciting? You think he's fun to watch? I mean, just wait till he fights Jamal Hill. But and like people are like, oh, Bilal doesn't finish, therefore he's boring. It's like, some of the best fights of all time went to decision. Shogun versus Dan Henderson went to decision. Wiley versus Joanna went to decision. So since when does going to decision indicate that you're boring? I think you're looking for a reason to hate. That's my opinion. Like, dude, John Fitch is boring. John Fitch, like, it was pathetic to watch. What I watched in that Bilal and Luque fight was like the most dangerous guy in the weight class, Luque, and someone with the right game plan just executed. Like, it reminded me of like the GSP days. So I liked it. But back to this. We know the deal here, man. Like, Rob Font has got the nasty jab. Rob Font has been putting his game together. He's got that 5-round experience. We know what we got to look out for. It's like, as long as Chito's not so badly compromised by this early going, then I think he's going to take over at some point. So that's where I'm going on this one. So that's my opinion. If I got anything else to say about that, I'll come back. But now let's go on to this co-main event. So we got Jake Collier taking on Andrei Arlovski. And currently they got it Andrei minus 145. Jake is plus 125. So this is one of those things, man, where it was like 2 years ago, it would have been like a dream to get plus money on someone against Andrei Arlovski. But dude, this guy, Andrei Arlovski, has been coming out here. And what's the current streak he's on? Hasn't he won like... This dude's out here. He's won 5 of his last 6 fights, with the only loss coming to Aspinall, who I think is pretty damn good. I think Aspinall's got a lot of potential. Shout out to Aspinall for cashing that dog money against Volkov. I've heard rumors about what his next fight is, but I don't know if it's true, so I don't want to say anything. I'm sure you guys saw some tweets. Who knows if there's any truth to that or not, but should be good. But, dude, Arlovski, it's interesting, man, what he's been able to do. He's coming out here. Every single fight is close, but he's able to get these judges' decisions, man. He's got kind of a speed advantage against some of these guys. And I'm curious if he's got that speed advantage here, because the thing about Collier is he's originally a middleweight, and you wouldn't be able to tell that by his physique in these heavyweight fights, but he was actually a middleweight a few years back. So... yeah, hold on 1 second. Sorry, some people are talking shit to me online. But basically what I was trying to get at is Arlovski has a way with his speed in a lot of these fights. And that's how he's able to outpoint these guys to a decision. But I'm curious if he still got that advantage here against Collier, who actually is a former middleweight. Like, I want to see if there's still a speed advantage there. It's a heavyweight fight. Either guy could get clipped. We know that much. And Collier's got some interesting techniques, man. I know y'all saw some of his spinning back kick knockouts from back in the day. And if you're not quite on his level, he will treat you accordingly. So that's one thing to note. But at the same time, we have seen him in recent memory go out there and, you know, it's 1-1 going to the third round, and he's gassed out in that third round. And that's how he loses those split decisions. And against Arlovski, that's what you don't want. These judges have been fucking loving Arlovski, man. So, I mean, I do kind of lean Arlovski to get it done. It's just like, am I trying to lay slight chalk on him? No. I saw someone say, bet the Arlovski by decision prop. Yeah, I mean, most likely, but who knows, man? They're heavyweights, and even though what I saw from Aspinall, you know, one takedown, the fight was over shortly after, and let's not sugarcoat it either. Aspinall finished him twice in that fight. You TKO'd him standing. I don't know why the ref didn't stop it, and then after that, he took him down and choked him out with no hooks rear naked choke. Now, I'm not saying Jay Collier is going to do some shit like that, but what I am saying is I saw a little something on the mat Jay Collier's last fight. I saw a little rear naked choke win, so you never know. You never fucking know. Like, we expect it to be this just low volume, close split decision type fight, but they might come out here and surprise us, man. They might come out here and it might be a little gritty battle. So I lean Arlovski, but I don't know. I don't have any kind of confidence. I'm still not, even though the dude's been proving me wrong time after time after time, I still don't. I'm still hesitant to lay a price like that on him. So, but I will pick him to win a split decision. I mean, listen, if I'm picking a split decision, then I'm not trying to lay minus 145, right? I guess that would make it a dog or pass situation. It just comes down to if it actually truly plays out that way, right? That's the big question here. So, featured bout in the featherweight division, we got Andrei Fili, he's 21-8, taking on Joanderson Brito, who is 12-3. Currently, they got it. Andrei Fili minus 230. The comeback on Joanderson Brito's plus 190. So I actually took the odds on Brito at plus 250 earlier in the week. I thought those were some good odds. And I mean, listen, all respect to Fili. I think he's the more experienced fighter. Well, it doesn't matter what I think. He is the more experienced fighter. That's a fact, not an opinion. He absolutely looked amazing his last fight against Daniel Pineda. And from time to time, Fili's going to go out there and give these guys vet lessons and have competitive fights with some of the toughest guys in the division. So all respect to Fili. I like this guy Brito. You know, I did bet on him in his debut and he lost, but you got to note that fight he lost, it came down to literally one scramble at the very end. I mean, it was 1-1 going to the third round on two judges' scorecards, and the one back take that Algio got in that third round sealed the deal for Joanderson Brito. And the reason I bring that up is because that's one of those like things that you can learn from. That's one of those mistakes that you can correct in the gym, come back better from. It wasn't a thing where it was like, you know, dude was out here getting dropped by jabs or like something alarming like that, or like he's got some serious hole in his game. It was just like a little tactical error at the last minute that cost him the fight. So in my opinion, that's something you can that's something you can come back better from. That's something you can learn from. That's something you can address in the gym. So I do expect a better Joanderson Brito here. It's just, you know, that being said, Andrei Fili has been in there with all the best guys. Literally, I mean, when you pull up Andrei Fili's resume, I mean, he's been in there with Bryce Mitchell, Charles Jourdain, Sodiq Yusuff, fucking Calvin Kattar. He was Calvin Kattar's debut opponent. Yair Rodriguez, Max Holloway, right? So, I mean, experience goes to Fili. I think the price reflects that, though. And the reason that I took Joanderson Brito here is not because I'm ultra confident that he wins this fight, but more so because I think he's got tools to make this a close fight. I think that he's a very heavy hitter. I think that Fili is there to be hit. I think Fili is also there to be taken down. And I get it. You know, we can sit here and say, oh, but that was just Bryce Mitchell that took him down, even though it wasn't just Bryce Mitchell. I've seen other guys take him down. But it's more so about the tools that Joanderson brings to the table. Like, I do think he's a solid-ass fighter, and I do think that this is going to be an honest 3-round fight, a true battle. So it needs to be an ass-whooping for Andrei Fili to cover that price tag. And is there a chance of that? Possibly. But back to Pineda. So that Pineda fight, everyone is saying it's Andrei Fili's best career performance, and you won't get a debate out of me. However, we also got to point out, not only was Pineda coming off a brutal knockout loss against Cub Swanson, but Pineda, okay, so y'all might not recall this, but some of you will. He was in PFL, right? And he was doing his thing, right? He made it all the way, and he ends up testing positive in PFL. Now, let me just say something right now. If you're testing positive in PFL, that ain't no tainted supplement, my man. That don't mean that he had some tomatillo sauce on his tacos, man. That means that this dude was out here, Flintstone vitamining it up. So, yeah, I think that as a result, we've been seeing a fatter version of Pineda. And as a result, I think that guys are out here running through him like Cub Swanson did, like Andrei Fili did. And again, that's not to discredit Fili's performance. Absolutely not. It's just more so to say that it was circumstantial based on the opponent. I don't think he runs through Joanderson. Now, I could be wrong. I've been wrong many times, and I'll be wrong many times again. But I see this being an honest 3-round fight, 1-1 going into the 3rd round. And let's see if Joanderson's made those adjustments. At plus 250 on 1-1 going to the 3rd round, which is how I see the fight going, doesn't mean it's going to play out that way at all. It might not play out that way. It might be a domination on either side. It might be an early finish. But I do see this being a war. So give me those plus 250 odds on Joanderson. Hopefully we can eke out a split decision. Hey, if we get a finish along the way, I'll take that too. But I'm thinking it's going to come down to the wire, and it's going to be a close judge's decision. So if that is truly the case, and if I'm right about that, then there is value on him, at the odds I got at least. So let's see what happens. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Jared Gordon, he's 18-4, taking on Grant Dawson, who is 17-1-1. Currently, they got at Grant Dawson minus 185. The comeback on Jared Gordon is plus 160. I'm kind of curious where this fight opened. And real quick, how's my mic sounding today? Because, you guys remember how I was, skipping and shit last time? I mean, I literally unplugged every fucking thing in my studio and just, started from scratch. So I'll be really pissed off if it's cutting in and out again, right? But there hasn't been any complaints now, so let me see. True Shot said, would Brito beat any of the last 6 guys Fili fought? I don't know. Let me pull up the last 6 guys Fili fought. I mean, he's not fighting any of the last 6 guys Fili's fought. He's fighting Fili. But Daniel Pineda, yeah, I definitely got him over Daniel Pineda in this version. Look, Daniel Pineda, I'm not trying to disrespect him. He's a guy I've been watching for 10 plus years, and he's a guy that is put on a lot of entertaining fights. It's just that you got to understand. So certain USADA violation, well, this wasn't USADA because it was PFL, but certain steroid busts, might be a tainted supplement. This was not a tainted supplement. This was, my dude is not going to come back the same, So, yeah, I definitely got Joanderson over Daniel Pineda. Look, yeah, I got Bryce Mitchell and Sodiq Yusuff over him. But what about Shaman Rice and Miles Jury? I got Joanderson in those fights. Michael Johnson, Michael Johnson will find a way to fuck that one up. So, yeah, dude, I think he can put up honest fights with most of those guys. Yeah, Sodiq and Bryce, okay. I clearly got those guys. But the rest, maybe not Jordan, but besides Jordan, I mean, come on. Miles Jury, Daniel Pineda, you're telling me Joanderson can't go out there and beat those guys? I disagree, bro. But back to this lightweight matchup between Jared Gordon and Grant Dawson. It's interesting because, hey, real quick, shout out to my boy Boom saying like and subscribe. I echo these sentiments, and I truly appreciate it if you all will do that for me. Well, there's no mic comments, so it sounds like everything's good. So I'm glad to hear that. So Jared Gordon versus Grant Dawson. So I guess a big talking point, a big narrative of this fight was that Grant Dawson did this camp at ATT. So people are saying, oh, he has one result that doesn't go his way, and he leaves the people that brought him up. I don't really buy into that, man, because who knows? Like, what if him and James Krause went to like lunch one day and Krause was like, hey, man, like maybe you should get out your comfort zone and go to ATT. Maybe it was an agreement between the two of them. So I don't think that they're beefing at all. Like, and I would not be surprised if Krause was still in his corner for this fight. So I don't think it's a situation where they were beefing or, you know, he had one result that didn't go his way and now he's changing everything. I don't think it's like that at all. I think he's probably had to get out of his comfort zone. And that's a good thing because that last fight was very alarming, man. I mean, like, he comes out there super dominant those first 2 rounds. All you had to do was get one takedown in the 3rd round, lay on top of Ricky Glenn, who's a very tough guy, and the fight's yours. But Grant Dawson pulls guard, and he literally blew it, man. He fucking blew it, man. I mean, he lost that last round 10-8, and as a result, it was a draw, you know, and it should have been a clear 29-28 at least win. But, like, man, he was getting Rick Glenn put it on him in that 3rd and final round. And the reason I bring that up is because one thing about Jared Gordon, he's one of these guys where it's like, look, it doesn't look the prettiest at all. And you watch tape on Jared Gordon, you're like, man, like, there's so many openings and so many guys are going to capitalize and so many guys have capitalized. But it's also like Jared Gordon is one of these guys where he can, you know, he's got those intangibles, man. Like, he's got a way of breaking guys. He's got a way of taking fights to deep water. And when it's when it's 1-1 going in that 3rd round, not always, because I did cash on Neto BJJ when he won in that 3rd round. But I'm just saying, from time to time, like when it's 1-1 going in that 3rd round, Jared Gordon, I hear this dude, like when he takes people down, I hear that he is heavy as fuck on top. I heard that. I'm not going to say who they compared him to because people will be like, oh, yeah, right. But, okay, fuck it. I will say it. I heard that some people that have trained with him say that he's got top game comparable to Khabib. Those are not my words, guys. Those are words from people that have trained with him. But basically my point is that he's deceptive with his strength. He's deceptive with his durability and the fact that he's able to go out there and kind of drown guys. And if Grant Dawson hasn't addressed what happened this last fight, that could happen here. Now, I think he has addressed it, obviously, you know, switching things up, getting out of his comfort zone. So that's good. And now it's about, like, is Grant Dawson really this prodigy everybody says he is? Is he really that top prospect, or has he had some favorable matchups, you know? Was he in there with Julian Erosa, Mike Trizano, Derek Minner, Nad Narimani, a 40-something-year-old version of Leonardo Santos, and then Ricky Glenn, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was like a minus 525 favorite in that Ricky Glenn fight. So this is a tough one, man. This is a tough one because it's like, I see why Grant Dawson's favored, and you watch the tape on Gordon and it does not look pretty at all, but again, he's got a way of making these fights close. He's got a way of imposing his will. He's got a way of going out there and breaking these guys. So I'm not sure, man. The Burns commented, he said Dawson 29-28. So I assume by that you mean that Dawson wins the first 2 rounds and Jared goes out there, wins that 3rd round. That's definitely a possibility. But what about the possibility of Dawson winning the 1st round and Jared winning the next 2 rounds? Maybe the 2nd round, only 2 judges see it his way. 1 judge sees it Dawson's way. And then all 3 judges see the 3rd round his way. And then it's like a split decision, right? So it's just about what kind of dominance are we expecting from Dawson here? Like, are we expecting him to come out here and run through a guy like Jared Gordon, who has been ran through before? Let's not sugarcoat it, but has also made a lot of improvements, has also got a ton of octagon experience, has also learned from his mistakes, is also got the momentum and the confidence of coming off a 3-fight win streak. So I don't know, man. This one, flip a fucking coin, man. So we're gonna go with Grant Dawson via close decision, but it would not surprise me. You know, I'm not trying to be flaky with this pick and this and that and be like, oh, I think this guy wins, but this guy, blah, blah. I mean, but this is really one of those fights where it's like, I think Dawson wins, but it's like, again, you can watch all the tape you want on Jared Gordon and it's not going to look the prettiest kind of like this guy coming up, Darren Elkins. Like it doesn't look good, but like he's got a way of imposing his will. He's got a way of breaking guys, and you have to respect that quality in a fighter. So I don't know. Maybe look to the live betting window on this one. I'm just curious if Grant Dawson covers his price tag. Like, should he really be minus 185? Possibly. I mean, there is that chance. Like, you can't. The guy is 17-1. That's one doesn't simply put up a 17-1 record in MMA. I'll tell you that much. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to tune in, man. I have no fucking idea. But we'll go with Dawson to be a very close decision. Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got another one that's kind of tricky. We got Darren Elkins, who's 26-10, taking on Tristan Conally, who's 14-7. And currently, they got it. And Darren Elkins, similar to Grant Dawson, minus 175. The comeback on Tristan is plus 155. This is an interesting one because it's like, so you look back at that fight between Tristan Conally and Michel Pereira, and again, not to discredit Tristan because he did win that fight fair and square, but that fight was more about what Michel did wrong than about what Tristan did right. I mean, Michel, like if y'all saw Michel Pereira's debut against Danny Roberts, like when you look like a fucking action figure superhero, like when you got like, remember when Johnny Walker first came into the UFC, he was getting all those flashy finishes, like. When you come in there and you do some shit like that in your debut, man, like you just can't help but come in there with that aura of invincibility and underestimate your next opponent and think that no one can touch you. And that's kind of what we saw from Michel Pereira in that fight. I mean, during the walkout, this dude was doing like 10 backflips and, I think he just got a little bit ahead of himself. I think he didn't take Tristan Conally seriously whatsoever, which I understand why. If you like look at a picture of the two of them, if you watch their fights, like if they ever ran it back, I got Michel Pereira again. It's just that Michel Pereira fucked up that night, and Tristan Conally, one quality that he's got is he's tough as fuck, man. He's a very tough guy. I kind of consider him just like a tough, solid journeyman fighter, I just do kind of question if he's at the UFC level. And again, that might sound kind of contradictory or hypocritical because, I mean, he beat Michel Pereira. If you can beat Michel Pereira, you belong in the UFC. But it's like, I think Michel Pereira beat himself, man. Like, straight up. Like, I think if they ever ran it back, if they ran it back 9 more times, I got Michel Pereira all 9 times. So how much stock do you put into that? And then on the other side of things, dude, what's Darren Elkins' nickname? The Damage? I mean, how much fucking damage can this guy keep taking, man? And, like, you hear his interviews. And, look, not to put too much stock into interviews and stuff. And we're going to talk about interviews when we talk about the Gabe Green fight because I got something to say about that. But, I mean, you hear this guy's interviews, you can barely fucking form a sentence together. And I shouldn't be laughing. That's not funny. But it's like, how much damage can he take? But at the same time, with that being said, how much damage can Tristan Conally dish out? I'm not sure. I mean, look, Darren Elkins should win this fight. Darren Elkins should come out here and grind this guy out. It's just at some point, the wheels are going to fall off. And at some point, someone who is not on his level is going to come out there and beat him. I mean, not to compare Darren Elkins to the great BJ Penn, but they do have one similarity, right? I mean, obviously, Darren Elkins wasn't a former lightweight and welterweight champion. He's not a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I don't know. BJ Penn is like a fucking icon, man. But at the end of BJ Penn's career, I mean, the dude took so much damage that he started losing to guys that he would have absolutely mopped the floor with in his prime. Like, you mean to tell me that BJ Penn wouldn't have absolutely handled guys like Dennis Seaver and Clay Guida and Ryan Hall in his prime? Because he absolutely would have. He would have ran through those guys. And the reason I'm bringing that example up is because I think in Darren Elkins' prime, he easily grinds this guy out. I mean, you saw in Tristan's last fight how easily he got grinded out, but that was against a younger, fresher guy. That was against a guy who's on the come up. That was against a hungry, just fresh grinder. And Elkins kind of used to be that guy back in the day. Can Elkins still muster up one last, one of those performances one last time? That's the big question here. So I don't know. I don't know. I just personally don't feel comfortable laying minus 175 on Darren Elkins with his current state. I just don't. Period. I guess I'll pick him because I have had questions about does Tristan Conally belong at this level? And again, 1 second. And again, it's not to be disrespectful to Tristan because you beat a guy like Michel Pereira, and you beat him fair and square too. There wasn't controversy there, you know. So it might sound disrespectful for me to question if he belongs at the UFC level, right? But again, I truly believe that I don't know if I want to call it a fluke, but I just think that Michel beat himself. So I don't know if Conally belongs at this level. But how much left does Darren Elkins have? I don't fucking know, man. And like I said, back to the BJ Penn example, these guys eventually, you know, these guys that take so much damage, they eventually start losing to people that they would have easily beat in their primes. So is that going to be the case here? I don't know. I'll go with Elkins just because if you give me the best version of both guys, I do think Elkins grinds that out. But it's tough because I know we're not getting the best version of Elkins. I know we're not. And to take it a step further, at least Tristan now finally has the experience of making the cut to featherweight, because you gotta take into consideration that the Michel fight was at 170, right? The Sabatini fight was at 45s. This one's back at 45s. Like going from 70 to 45s, like even if you got the right people, like actual fight night, like how are you gonna feel after making that cut, right? It's not just about making the weight; it's about performing the next day. Well, now he's got that experience under his belt. Does that aid him to victory here? I don't know. Are any of y'all taking the shot on Tristan here? I just need to sit this one out, man. I just don't have conviction on either side. But give me the best version of both guys, and I think Elkins wins. It's just I know we're not getting the best version of Elkins here, so tough one. Now, next up in the middleweight division, I'm excited about this. We got a matchup between Gerald, GM3 Meerschaert. He's 34-14, taking on Christoph Jotko, who's 23-5. Remember when Christoph Jotko knocked out Tamden McCrory, and they were trying to market him, and they called him Chris Jotko to make it a little easier because you know none of us can fucking spell Christoph, right? Can any of y'all spell Joanna's last name? I can't. And currently they got it. Christoph Jotko minus 170. The comeback on Gerald Meerschaert's plus 150. Another interesting fight because, firstly, with Gerald Meerschaert, you're dealing with the guy with the most submission wins in UFC middleweight history. I'm talking about more submission wins than Royce, more submission wins than Maia. Now, before someone corrects me, I didn't say more submission wins than Maia just career-wise. I said just at middleweight because Maia had a long career at middleweight and welterweight. So combined, Maia's got more subs. But at middleweight, where Maia did make his original title run. I mean, you guys remember when he fought Anderson Silva. Gerald's got more subs than him. Pretty crazy. And more subs than Anderson, too. So, yeah, props to Gerald, man. What he's been able to do. And y'all should check out my interview with him. I think we talked for like an hour. It's on this channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Cool-ass dude, man. Just really, like, in tune with who he is, right? He's not out here trying to pretend that he's some... Now, let me just clarify what I'm about to say. Compared to guys like us, just, regular dudes, he's a fucking elite athlete. But if you put him next to like the top guys in his division, like if you put him next to like Israel Adesanya or Rob Whittaker, like I guarantee you both those guys have a higher vertical jump than Gerald Meerschaert. I guarantee you both those guys have faster 40-meter dash. you see what I'm saying? Those guys are better athletes, but Gerald makes his attributes and his qualities work in MMA. He has got a very opportunistic submission game, hence him having the most subs in UFC middleweight history. He's got a nasty body kick, and you start to think he's a little slow and hittable on the feet, and then that straight left comes down the pipe, and you're like, oh shit, this guy's tagging me too. So Gerald's very deceptive, kind of like some of these other guys we've been talking about on this card, man. We were talking about how Jared Gordon can be deceptive at times. We were talking about how Marlon Chito Vera can be deceptive at times. Like, you might watch tape and you might see certain things that don't look the prettiest, but it's different when you're in there with those guys. And I think that Gerald is one of those guys as well. And with Christoph, I mean, I think the best way to describe him is a European point fighter. I think he knows exactly where his strengths lie. He's not going to come out here, take any unnecessary risks. He's going to dance around you. He's going to try to point you up. and he knows when to shoot for that last-minute takedown to seal the deal on the round. And from time to time, he will slug it out, too. I mean, you guys saw the Uriah Hall fight. He hurt Uriah Hall badly in that fight. He just got carried away. And actually, let me take back something I said, because I was talking about how he doesn't fight uncharacteristic for the most part. I mean, when you got the kind of sample size that Kris Jotko has, from time to time, you're going to fuck up, right? And he fucked up in that Uriah Hall fight. But I think he's learned his lesson since then, and I think that he's coming out here and he knows how to edge out these decisions. Let's see. Daniel Edwards says people default Meerschaert as the dog because of his losses, but maybe he's put his game together enough to beat Jotko. Yeah, maybe. It's tough. It just depends. Does he get that opportunity to finish the fight? If he does, then I think that, if he gets the opportunity, he's going to take it. This is a guy that he gets your neck, he's not going to fuck up. He gets a limb, he's not going to lose it, man. He's going to take it home. So it's just about, does Kris Jotko give him that opportunity to finish him? Now, we can bring up the Misha Sarkunov fight, but I heard that word on the street was that Kristoff was really injured for that fight, and he kind of he knew he could beat Sarkunov anyways, so he just took that fight regardless, even though he wasn't his best, and I guess the performance reflected that. But apparently here, he's back at 100%, so take it for what it's worth. I'm a lean GM3. Maybe I'm a little biased, but don't get me wrong, I've cashed some tickets on Kris before. Remember that plus 200 against Tamden McCrory back in the day, his only knockout, So tough one, man, but it's just about, can Gerald come out here and create that chaos? Back to what we were talking about with a guy like Chito Vera. Yes, Rob Font is the cleaner guy. Krzysztof Jotko is the cleaner guy. Yes, Grant Dawson is the cleaner guy. But can Jared Gordon create that chaos? Can Marlon Vera create that chaos? Can Gerald Meerschaert create that chaos? Abu Dhabi. What's up, Abu Dhabi? He said Jotko went 3 hard with Strickland. He did go 3 hard with Strickland. But, Strickland, he's another guy that he's content to outpoint you, man. He's content to go to decision. And I don't find him boring either, man. I think, dude, if you can win a UFC main event just off a jab, that's pretty fucking impressive. But we don't need to debate that shit right now. But yeah, there's another one I could see going either way. So for that reason, I'll side with the dog. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. Romanov or Sherman. Romanov's minus 2,000. Sherman plus 1,250. Is the line justified? I think so. I think it's 1 takedown, the fight's over shortly after. If not, 2 takedowns and the fight's over shortly after. People asking me, should I take a shot on Sherman? No. No, you shouldn't. Watch Romanov not shoot a single takedown now. Stand and bang with Sherman. Even if he stands and bangs with Sherman, Sherman's so fucking hittable. Sherman's best quality is his leg kicks. Very hard leg kicker, but his head's right there on the center line, doesn't move it at all. He's there to be hit. And then on the ground, Jay Collier just submitted him in the first round. I think that Romanov can come out here and have some. I think Romanov's going to dominate him and destroy him. So, yeah, I get people are taken aback. I don't think you're taken aback by the odds. I think you're more disappointed that it's unplayable. So, whatever. It's unplayable, so sit back. Yeah, no one's forcing you to play anything. The odds suck, so just sit back. But, yeah, I got Romanov here. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Daniel Da Silva Lacerda. He's 11-2, taking on Francisco Figueiredo, who's 12-4. Currently, they got it. Daniel Lacerda minus 130. The comeback on Francisco is plus 110. Just out of curiosity, where did this fight open? I want to see who Vegas favored. Okay, so they favored Figueiredo. I get people are down on Figueiredo because, he fucking went out there and lost to Malcolm Gordon, which is a big red flag. But again, similar to when I was talking about that Joanderson Brito fight against Algio, it was kind of a situation you can learn from. Look, did he do some dumbass shit like have a full mount on Malcolm Gordon and then give up the round by dropping back for a leg lock? Yes, he did. However, that's something you can learn from. That's something you can go back, watch the tape, and be like, man, don't ever fucking do that again, right? Like, again, it's not like Francisco was out here getting dropped by jabs or fucking, shooting takedowns from a mile across the cage. Like, he just made a couple stupid mistakes that can be corrected, and hopefully they will be. We don't know if they will or won't be. But, again, dropping back for leg locks when you have a full mat on a guy, really bad IQ. However, you go back and you learn from your mistakes. We've had plenty of time since that fight. Hopefully he's learned from those mistakes. And then on the other side with Lacerda, he's another one of these guys like, Daniel Willie Catchy or, those guys from Shoot the Bucks, Tomas Almeida, Felipe Aranches. He's another one of those guys, man. I mean, he's going to come out there. He's going to come to bang. He's going to put on a very exciting fight. I thought that Jeff Molina handled that fight accordingly, man. He let Daniel Lacerda just use up all his energy, and then when it was Jeff Molina's time to respond, boy, did he respond, right? Like, we know Lacerda can give it, but can he take it too? And one thing about Figueiredo, we don't need to even bring up his brother. Like, his brother is his brother is irrelevant to this fight because you don't have to be a championship level guy to beat Daniel Lacerda. You also didn't need to be a championship level guy to beat Malcolm Gordon, but that's besides the point because hopefully he's learned from that experience. We don't know if he has or hasn't. So this is another one tough. This is a tough fucking fight to call because it's like we know Lacerda is hell on wheels those first couple minutes. We know Francisco has a bit of a gas tank issue. We know Francisco's volume ain't the best. But I've also seen Francisco go out there, some nice body lock takedowns, get on top of these guys, get the full mount on some black belts. It's just when you do get to those positions, like I don't want to see you dropping back for leg locks. I don't want to see you give up position. Like I want to see you maintain that position. And if he does that, I think he can win this fight as an underdog. So another tough one. I'll slightly lean with Francisco, but this is a different scenario than the last fight. He was like -3 something the last fight, and yeah, my dumb ass played him there because I thought literally anybody could beat Malcolm Gordon. Apparently that wasn't the case. I'm willing to learn from my mistakes, but yeah, here he's a dog. It's a different situation altogether. So I'm gonna take him here. We don't really know what Lacerda looks like. Do I want to say with a full camp? I don't know if the Molina fight was with a full camp or if he was like a short notice fill-in. So if someone knows, let me know. I just know Lacerda comes to bang. It's just how long can he sustain that? But that being said, how long can Francisco sustain his style? So it's a 50-50 fight. Give me the dog. Now, this one I'm very excited about. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Yohan Lanaisse. He's 8-0, representing Canada, taking on Gabe Green, who is 10-3. And currently they got it Gabe Green -135. The comeback on Yohan Lanaisse is +115. Gabe Green's a dog, man. Not an underdog in this fight, but just a dog in general, man. He's one of those just tough, rugged dudes. Probably has some Mexican in him because you see the kind of shots he takes. Like, goddamn, like, just keeps walking forward. And that calf kick game he had on Phil Rowe. Beautiful stuff. His grappling isn't half bad. Some of the shots he was eating against D-Rod, like, damn, dude. Like, I've seen other dudes go to sleep with less. So, props to him. This Yohan Lanaisse is interesting because it's like he's probably Canada's top hope for a welterweight prospect. Actually, that's not true because that Mike Malott kid is also Canadian. So, okay, he's right up there with Mike Malott, excuse me. First or second best Canadian welterweight prospect currently in the UFC. And Yohan's a one-hitter quitter type guy, man. I mean, he's doesn't look like he sets up his shots the best, but he's got that intangible of just like I've seen him like make multiple dudes snore like straight up at all kinds of different points in the fights. And I have heard people talking about how Yohan gasses as fights progress, and If you're going to gas here, that's not good. If you're going to gas here, that is not good. You do not want to gas against Gabe Green. It's just how many more shots can Gabe Green keep eating? And also, with the power that Yohan brings, even if Gabe is getting the better of the volume, can Yohan sway the judges with those big moments, right? Like that's a big question I have in this fight. I see it being a really close fight. While it lasts, right? Because someone could get knocked out here, and then it's not going to look close. But I'm saying up until the knockout happens on either side, I see it being a very close fight. If it goes to decision, I see Yohan winning the first. I see Gabe Green winning the third. Who's going to win the second? I don't know. But let me just say this as far as the Yohan gassing talk is concerned. Have I seen him breathe heavy past the first round? Yes. But did I see him lose his composure past the first round? No. He handled himself well. He knows how to fight fatigued, which on one hand you can say, well, that was, in a regional show. What's going to happen here at the UFC level? And that's a very fair point. And we know the cardio Gabe Green brings to the table, so that's another fair point. But I just have an issue with how much Gabe Green gets hit. And Yohan's one of those guys you don't want to get hit against. So, listen, I think that if you get dog money on either side, that's the way to go. Like, if you were one of those people that took Gabe Green at the dog odds, good job. You did your job. You beat the line. But since the line has flipped, I'm going to go on the opposite side. I'm going to take Yohan to potentially catch him with something big in the early going, or to get 2 rounds and survive that third and get a decision. But I see it being a war until either someone goes to sleep or until this fight hits the judges' scorecards. But I'll go with Yohan for the upset. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Mike Breeden, he's 10-4, taking on Natan Levy, who is 6-1. And currently they got it Natan Levy minus 185. The comeback on Mike Breeden is plus 160. Y'all really think I'm gonna pick against my boy Levy here? Even we spell our names different, by the way. My boy Blood Money said, "What's up, Dan? Great show, brother. I always enjoy your content." Thank you so much, Blood Money. I appreciate that, man. And if the rest of y'all feel the same way, smash that like button and hit that subscribe button for me. I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much. So, Natan Levy, the debut fight didn't go his way, but he was in there with a much more experienced guy, and I thought he held his own. And I thought it was like a performance you can build from. First round started off strong, but 1-1 going to the third, and the more experienced guy was able to capitalize. But I like what Levy brings to the table, man. I think that he's known for his karate style. He's known for his kicking game, but don't sleep on his grappling either. And also, he's a guy who is outside his comfort zones, living in Vegas, like doing the right things. And with Breeden, he also trains with some really good people. He trains with David Onama, with Tim Elliott, under James Krause. So maybe Breeden's got more to show this time, but Breeden seems to me like a killer be killed banger, which as a fan, you got to love that style, but I'm just not sure how that translates at the UFC level. Now, he's beat some guys that are in the UFC right now, like Brandon Jenkins. He flying knee KO'd Brandon Jenkins, and he had that good fight with Anthony Romero on Contender Series. And then also he beat Ken Beverly, who is a guy I know from the regional scene, who's fought a couple times in the NFC. So he finished a very tough guy in Ken Beverly. So props to Breeden on that. I see Natan Levy getting back on track. I'm just not crazy about the minus 185 price tag, right? I think it's probably about accurate, so I don't really see too much value. If you want to take the dog shot to fade a 6-1 fighter, I hear you. It's just the dog you're actually betting on, I'm not sure if he's got the goods at this level. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong many times, and I will be wrong many more times. I'm just not sold on Breeden being a UFC caliber guy. So I see the talent and the potential of Levy, and let me take him here. I just don't really see too much value in that price, so pass. And next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Gina Mazany, she's 7-5, taking on Shayna Young, who is 7-4. Shayna or Shanna? Someone let me know. Currently, they got it Gina Mazany minus 180. The comeback on Shanna is plus 155. I mean, dude, yeah, Gina should win this fight. Gina should also won the fucking Priscilla fight too. It's just Gina she's got some good front running. I mean, the wrestling's on point, and like if you're not quite UFC caliber, which I don't think Shayna Young is, Gina can capitalize. It's just when you're laying a price like -180 on Gina Mazany and shit's going your way for the first 7 minutes, and one bad thing, she eats one knee or one takedown gets stuffed, and she starts to mentally check out, don't blame anybody but yourself for laying a price like that on Gina Mazany, is all I got to say. So, yeah, Gina's the pick. At least she's won some UFC fights, right? But you ain't getting me to lay close to fucking -200 on Gina Mazany in any fight, dude. Any. Ever. So, do I want to say it's dog or pass? I don't know, because it's like Shanna's been so unimpressive. But look, she does have something to prove. It's just like when you're getting finished by fighters like Sarah Alpar, no disrespect, but when you're getting, it's just, I just got questions about if she belongs. But then I say that, and it's like I've seen Gina get ran through multiple times in under a minute, multiple times. Watch the fucking, who are the two girls that finished her in under a minute? Macy Chauzon and Sarah McMahon, right? Oh, and Julia Avila, right? And like Macy Chauzon was 1:49, excuse me. And Sarah McMahon was 1:14. So actually I'm wrong on both those, but they still ran through her, which is the point I was trying to make. And then the Priscilla Cachoeira fight was just straight up breaking. Can Shanna Young break her? I don't know. Possibly. Gina Mazany ain't getting my money at -180. I'll tell you that much. So pass. Now this first fight, this one's going to be good. So hold on one second. Let me address this comment. So Mr. Nuggly Driscoll said, I got Shanna. He said, trust me. He said, you guys are going to regret not listening to me. Well, I'll tell you this much. I ain't betting Gina Mazany. So, but I hope you cash, man. I hope you cash, because it's like when you're laying -180 on Gina Mazany, you're asking for trouble. You make that -180 bet on Gina Mazany 10 times, you're not coming out on the right side of the coin. I know that much. It's just what's going to happen this Saturday night. I don't fucking know, man. But I hope you cash this bet, dude. But anyways, kicking off the card in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Tatsuro Taira. He's 10-0 from Japan, taking on Carlos Candelario, who is 8-1 from the U.S. Currently, they got it Tatsuro Taira -230. The comeback on Carlos Candelario, depending where you look, +190 to +200. So this was funny because I never heard of Taira until this card rolled around. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, being -250, -300 or whatever, like in his debut. And then I looked him up, and I gotta say, he's gonna be a pretty physical dude in this weight class. One thing about him, he's pretty tall for flyweight. He's 5'7", which for flyweight, that's pretty fucking tall. He's a strong kid, man. He's got a decent grappling game, good at taking the back. I've also seen him finish off his back, so you can finish either way on the mat. Some hard kicks, maybe not the best volume, but when he decides to let it go, he lets it go. So I like that about him. And then Carlos Candelario, y'all let me know what kind of Latino heritage he has. Is it Mexican? Because I can definitely tell by the way he fights. Like, dude goes out there and scraps, man. He's a very scrappy kid, man. And I like that Contender Series performance a lot. Live, I kind of thought that was like a big robbery. But when I rewatched it, I do kind of understand, why he lost that fight. It seemed like Victor Altamirano kind of started taking over towards the latter part of the second round, and I guess that kind of edged him the decision. Like at the time it seemed atrocious, but when I rewatched, like I've seen a lot worse decisions than that. Let's just put it that way. But what I like about Candelario is, firstly, he's got a lot of experience at the Apex. He's already fought twice on Contender Series, and scrappy ass dude. But the thing I really want to talk about is Tatsuro Taira making that flight over from Japan. Like, does anybody have any insight on how long he's been in the States? Because one of the things that plagues the Asian fighters is that flight, man. Because if you hear my interview with Dawoon Jung, he's from Korea. I asked him, like, hey, man, like, how long do you need to get acclimated, with the jet lag? He told me a month, right? He said, we got flown out 10 days out, but I actually need a month to acclimate. So apparently we haven't even been seeing Dawoon Jung fight at 100%. And I'm just curious, like, with Tatsuro Taira, look, I think Tatsuro Taira projects to go further than Candelario. No disrespect. I like Candelario a lot. He's very exciting, very scrappy, fun dude to watch. I think Taira is the more talented guy here. It's just that sometimes these debuts don't go according to plan, especially when it's your first time making the flight. Let me just double check that it's his first time because, let's see, where was this, his last fight at? Yeah, I mean, Tokyo, Japan. Okay, yeah. I mean, this what's up, Leo? This is this dude's first time coming over to the States. And that's tough, man. That is really tough because that flight, you've never made that flight before. I've heard from other Asian fighters that you need to take at least a month to really acclimate. You probably got 10 days. Like, are you even going to be your optimal self? Because if he's not his optimal self, then Carlos Candelario is a live dog here. Because one thing about Candelario, even though he slowed down in that Contender Series fight, can't deny that, definitely happened. He's going to come to fight. He's not, this ain't Gina Mazany where one thing goes wrong and the fight's over, is going to have a mental checkout. That's not. Carlos Candelario is going to fight to the bitter end, whether he's tired or not. And that's a quality I respect. And I like the volume on the feet. I like the fact that he can mix in takedowns, takedown after takedown after takedown. He's relentless, great scrambling ability. So I like Candelario. It's just, what am I getting from Taira here? Am I getting the Taira I saw on tape, or am I getting a guy who's jet lagged, making his UFC debut, who fights nowhere near his potential? Like what am I getting here? So I don't know. So for that alone, I think it's a dog or pass situation. Just because, again, UFC debuts don't always go according to plan, let alone a dude making a fucking, hold on a second. Let me look up what the flight is. Flight length, Japan to Vegas. Well, it just depends where. Okay, if you're making the flight from Tokyo to Vegas, it's 13 hours. If you're making the flight, but with one stop along the way. If you're making the flight from Osaka, it's fucking almost 17 hours. And if you're making the flight from Nagoya, it's almost 19 hours. Like, dude, that's just like too much, right? My boy Moy's audio said 12 weeks. You mean to tell me he's been in the States 12 weeks? Oh, okay. So where's he been training then, Moyes? Like, has he been training at Syndicate? Has he been training at Extreme Couture? If he's been here for 12 weeks, then I don't have to worry about, the flight. The flight's irrelevant if that's the case. Can you please tell me where he's been training? But that's good, because that tells me if what Moy's audio is telling me is true, that this dude's been here for 12 weeks, well, then we're not going to deal with a jet-lagged fighter here. And that's my big concern with any Asian fighter making that flight to the United States for the first time. So he says he's been training at both Extreme Couture and Syndicate. Okay, good. The two best gyms in Vegas. That's a good sign. Yeah, so that actually makes me think that we might possibly see the guy we saw on tape. And if that's the case, I think he wins the fight. I still do have questions about, this being your first time under those bright lights. Candelario's been there twice before. Look, my pick is Taira. It's just when we're talking about a price like this, I need all my bases covered. I need to know that we're getting the dude I saw on tape to come out here and perform at his best. He does that, I think he wins. It's just, are we going to get that, right? If we don't, Candelario's a very live dog. And I think even if Candelario loses, he's a live dog because he's going to put up a fight. So, but give me Taira to win, and I like the fact, thank you, Moyes, for bringing up that he's been in the States for 12 weeks. That's huge, man. That's huge, because I was thinking 10 days. So give me Taira, but I'll sit back on this one. I'm not trying to lay that price until I see how he performs against this level of competition. Because those dudes he was fighting overseas, no comment is all I gotta say. And Candelario's a scrapper. Candelario's by far the best guy he's ever fought. Candelario's got a chip on his shoulder. Candelario feels like he was robbed on Contender Series. It's gonna be a hell of a way to open up the card. But give me Tyra, but I don't know. Candelario is going to make it a scrap, so I look forward to it. All right, so let's talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. Real quick, y'all. I haven't gotten any mic comments, but if, like, this fucking thing right here been working okay, because you don't know how fucking pissed off I was when I heard that it was, like, skipping last time, but it sounds like it's good, so just confirm that for me in the comments, please. Because I was about to buy a whole new rig, and that would have been so stupid because I don't think the rig was the issue. I think certain things were. I just had to replug everything and just talk to my tech guy and bro, it ain't just about getting on the fucking mic and talking. Like, this technology shit is something else, man. Like, so props to like all the podcasters that like have that side of things down, man. I still got a long way to go, but I'm grateful that you guys are here with me. So thank you very much. Anyways, fight to watch and fighter to watch. I mean, besides the main event, I think the fight to watch is Andrei Fili versus Joanderson Brito. I mean, how can this fight not be exciting? Joanderson Brito, the Brazilian wrecking ball, goes out there, powerful, strong dude. Andrei Fili, as experienced as they get, been in there with everybody, coming off a career best performance. I just want to see what happens here. I think it's going to be a war while it lasts. So that's my fight to watch. And my fighter to watch, I mean, I do kind of want to see how this Yohan Lanaisse guy performs, but, I mean, listen, we got to go Marlon Chito Vera. You know how long I've been waiting for this guy to be in a 5-round fight? Long-ass time. And he ain't fighting some walkover either. Rob Font is as legit as they get, top 5 guy on planet Earth. And if Chito Vera's got title aspirations, if Chito Vera is the guy that he says he is, then he's got to come out here and beat a guy like Rob Font, who is just such a litmus test, man, to gain entry to the top 5. So I want to see what kind of chaos Chito can create here, because like I said, you try to go jab for jab with Rob Font, you're losing that fight. But if you can, show that patented durability, that trademark toughness, and go out there, have that fuck it moment, and just let him see what you're all about. Let him see that Ecuadorian pride and spirit. I think we might see something with this Chito Vera guy in a 5-round fight. So he's my fighter to watch. Well, guys, thank you very much for being here with me. It's going down Saturday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Y'all saw my boy Leo in the back. Yeah, he's cute, right? Follow me on Twitter at Best Fight Picks. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify. All the places where we are available. I'll be back next week for the next card. I think the next card is... Shit, it's already UFC 274. Holy fuck. I'm also going to be... You see this dude spamming the chat? Like, bro, like, fuck off. But I'm going to be on Clint's show on Monday. And then I'll be back. Oh, yeah. So, dude, I'm working on a Jailton Almeida interview. His first ever U.S. interview, like podcast interview. Just working on securing a translator. Dude, Jailton Almeida, that dude looks so fucking serious, man. And I hope y'all come and hang out with me and Jailton later next week. And then obviously going to break down UFC 274. So I'll be back. Guys, do me a huge favor. Smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Comment on the video. Retweet my tweets. Share. All that stuff. All those little things you guys do help the show grow tremendously. I don't have all these big websites fucking out here, backing me. I'm doing this all by myself, man, because I truly love this game and I truly love entertaining you guys. So thank you guys so much for being here with me. I appreciate it. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.